Pankaj, good morning, Pankaj. So today we'll go over the Java exception. So exceptions is really Java exceptions. Okay. If you go here, this is Oracle, which will tell you much more about the exceptions. But I want the simple ones. Okay, let's take tutorial.java or maybe our favorite W3 school because that is it will try to give you as easy as possible, right? So let me see what they have done. Did they do anything? Let me see here. Okay, try catch it. All right, I didn't like this one. No, I don't want this one. Let's try the other one. Yeah, this is what I want to, but again, this is a little bit complex because exceptions are kind of complex. Okay, so because what I'm saying that is because if you have to understand the exceptions, you have to understand a little bit about the Java. So don't worry about this, but at least you should have some idea about how the exceptions are thrown. So what happens is Java have the main code, right? Java, what happens is it inherits from one upper level to another up level to another level. So what I mean by that is Java has different core Java. This is from the core Java. What happens when they write these exceptions in order for easiness to learn and understand and for maintenance purpose, they don't write just simply one class and dump everything in there. What they will do is they will create a very base class. And from that class, they will create another class, and another class will inherit another class. And from there, what they will work on their different features. So for exception class hierarchy, what exceptions is all exceptions are also classes. So whenever you have to remember that what are exceptions? Exception classes are subtype of Java lang. What does it mean by is Java lang exception class. So what happens is in the Java real-time Java, there are few of the classes which start from Java lang is the basic top level. You can say bottom level. From there, they'll inherit to the Java objects. Java objects inherited to throwable class. Throwable class has two of the errors and exceptions. And this exceptions has runtime exception and other exceptions. So what is this does is, so what is Java do is, let me go about the exception. Okay, let me talk about a little bit about exception. What is exception? An exception in an exceptional event is a problem that arises during the execution of a program. So what is an exception means? It's a problem or a information, whatever you can say. You can say it's a problem, it's a blocking problem, or it could be an information problem that arises when executing the program. When an exception occurs, the normal flow of the program is disrupted and the program application terminates abnormally, which is not recommended. Therefore, all exceptions are to be handled. So what it is saying is there are certain times there are exceptions that produced like let's give you a simple example. Okay, I want to go over the which one? Let's take the simple. Do I have any of them? No, this one. I'll take the simple one. Do you have anything here? One second. Do you have any calculations here? Yeah. So what happens is, let me take an example. A program disrupted or a programmed application terminates abnormally, which is not recommended. Therefore, the exceptions are to be handled. So what it's saying is whenever you run a program and you provide certain items here, like let me add another one, division. Okay. Division. Int A, int B. A divided by B. So what happens is whenever if I try to run this program, let me write this also at the same time. Division. A divided by 0. Let's do the 0. Division by 0 is infinity. So it doesn't work. Let's see what it does. Let's run this program. Oh, no, run web. You'll see that the messages are populated in the, once it's launching, let's see what it says. See, the first one, sum worked, 4. Second one, subtraction 1 minus 3 minus 2 worked. But the third one, this whenever it went to this line of code in the main class, main method, sorry, is throws an exception. If you look at the first word, it's an exception in the thread main. What it says, Java lang arithmetic exception. What it is saying is, now this is an exception in the code. So how did this is thrown is through the Java lang. If you look at java.lang arithmetic exception means there's an exception in the code, means there is what happens if you don't handle this one properly. What will you get is you will see that in the code that you will get an abnormal or program disruption and you get an error. So what is exception occurs so the normal for the program is disrupted by the program application terminates abnormally. So what will happen is, now I'll show you an example why this is important is, let me show you in this fourth line. I'm going to write sum of 5 plus 4. Okay, let me do 5 plus 4. So what will happen is, let me run this again. This is a basic, very, very low level of understanding. If you see the first, it says 4. This is the first line. It says summation of this 1 plus 3. Second, you will see -2 is the subtract of 1 and 3. Third thing is exceptions you see, right? Because of the third line, division by 0 is an exception. But we have fourth line of code also. Now what happens because of this exception, this fourth line of code never executed, or the fourth system.print, right? It never executed. Why? Because there was error in this code. Because of this error exceptions or error, your your execution got broke or your execution stopped. It never went to the line 15 because of this exception. So what it is saying is, if there is an exception, you should be able to handle those, either handle those exceptions or your program will break. Means your program broke over here. So which is not a good thing. So that's what it is trying to say is, so you have to make sure that whenever it disturb program application terminates means ends abnormally. So my program ended abnormally in that case, which is not recommended. Therefore, the exceptions are to be handled. Either you handle it or fix the issue. But better way sometimes is to handle the exceptions. And the exceptions can occur in many different regions, following other some scenarios which are where the exceptions occurs. A user has entered an invalid data, like the one I did, right? Division by 0. It's not invalid data because you can't divide by 0, right? It's infinity. You can never have that. So this is wrong. So you provided an entered invalid data. A file name that needs to open cannot be found. So this is FI in what if IO input output Java. So what happens whenever you open a file or you handle the file and you don't have the file in the program, then it shows a file not found exception. There are many exceptions, but I'm saying one of them. A network connection has been lost in the middle of the communication of JVM and run out of memory. So there are other ways. For us, this is what we practice just now. We saw one of the example, right? Where we saw an error. Some of the exceptions are caused by user error, others by programming errors, and others by physical resources. So like the file not found is a physical resource error. So what happens is when you try to access a file, like this example, it is saying, okay, let me do this one, okay? I will take this example as a, where do you go? Okay. Maybe where should I use this one? Okay, I'll use here only, then I'll create a new file here, not test.ng. I'll create a new practice. I have practice here. I can use this. 1 second, new class. What happened? My system is slow today somehow. Okay. What class? What name did you give? Let me see. File not found demo. Okay, I'll use the same name. Not a problem. Uh-oh. Huh? What happened? Why did you clear this one? Oh, something wrong. I don't know what happened here. Something went wrong. I think click some demo happened. 1 second. File not found demo. Control X. Okay. Something went wrong. I don't know what happened, but this is the class I created. Now let me change the. Okay. Somehow I don't know what happened there. So some issues came up over there. Okay. Let me copy the class method. Sometimes I can just copy paste also, as long as you know what you are doing. So I copied this the whole line. So what it is doing is now, okay, now you see an error means this is file is also reading as a different library or different class. We need to import that one. 1 second. Why is it not showing right now? Okay, import file. Java IO means it's the core Java. So core Java has that library. That's what it's trying to say. Why something wrong with my? Okay, finally I got it. Okay. And see what it is saying is, for now I'll do two things. Okay. What I'll do is 1 second. No, I'll do two methods. Public static void using exception using throws using exception handling using throws. Okay, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to copy this one here. 1 second. X Control V. So what happens is, now you see this error. When I mouse over the error, what it is saying is you have to use a throws class either, or you use a try class. So there are two ways of handling the exception. So this is the first way. The first way of handling exception is using the throws keyword. So what I'm saying is, either I can use a specific exception that I want to use, like file not found exception, or I can use a straightly say exception, throws exception. Anything is fine, because exception throws not found is a subclass. This is the main class, and this file not found is a subclass. So you can use any of them. So next one, if you look at this, okay, let me call this method now. Okay. Oh, I have to use this one also. 1 second. Okay, in this way, I have to use the, since you look at the example, since I have this throws exception here and the class uses throws exception, I have to use the throws declaration under the class here, because this method or file reader is a what do you call that? File reader is a throw some exception. So like as I explained a little bit yesterday, that whenever the method has the exception thrown, you have to handle that exception in the method. Otherwise, it will throw an error or code will fail. So this is one example which I wanted to go. Let me run this one now. You'll see this is arithmetic exception you saw earlier, right? Now you'll see a different exception. Let's run this one. See, you saw different exception, file not found exception, because I don't have this file in my local file itself. So what happened is, it is when the second example it was in the text, right? It says file not found exception, means I'm not able to find this file in the I'm not able to find this file. So what it's saying is the file is not present, means you will not able to find the file. So that is what it will do. It will throw an exception. An exception way in says such that that error is the element is not found. So the file reader or the file is not found. So in Java, you can do reading the, because this is another important, you have to, sometimes you may have to learn about how to read the files and manipulate the files. So for now, just think that way, that the file is not present. That's the reason you got this error. Now let me use any file that I have here. Okay. Let me open 1 second. Okay. Downloads, practice. And where did I set up week 13? Okay. Let me use this path now in the code. Let me do one thing. Okay. Now I'm going to use the same one. I'm okay. Problem with Selenium and coding is you have to start to learn Java. Java is important. That's the reason. For some reason we have to. There's no other exception. So sometimes you see this error, right? Even with backslash, you have to use double backslash, because the way the Java reads, right? You have to provide the double. It's better to provide the double backslash. Now, if you see this error, now let's run this, okay? And slash double slash, sorry, my bad. What's the file name we have used? Let me copy this one. Okay. And let me provide here .txt, right? Okay. Let's run this program and see what it does. Earlier, this file, which was not present, I tried to find here. It didn't find. It's through an exception. This is an exception. Let's run the another one. See, no error. See, the program completed, but with no error because this file is present. So it didn't throw an exception. So what I'm trying to explain is this is one way of handling the exception by using the throws exception. That's what I think. Let me see what this says in the, let me go by this, whatever they explain. So I'll go over the other one. Okay. So we talked about some of the exceptions are caused by error by programmers errors and other physical resources not that has failed in some manner. So physical resources means the file we try to access the file, that file was not present. That's the reason we got an exception. Based on this, we have three categories of exception. We need to understand them to know how exception handling works in Java. Checked exceptions. The exception that is if I want to let's not go over there. I'll just explain a different way. So let's not talk about all these different types. We'll just go about what are the exceptions. For example, if you have file reader a class in your program and you read the data from a file, if the file specified is not constructed, doesn't exist, then the file not found exception is thrown. We saw this error right before in our code. This is what we saw. This is one file not found exception. Another one is 1 second. Let's not worry about this also. Exception hierarchy. So what happens is now you saw the Java lang, right? If you look at the error before, it says java.lang.exception. So if you look at their exception, this is how the flow. So for now, you don't have to remember this, but you have, if somebody may, if you're interested, you can know that, okay, just understand that Java exceptions comes through Java lang class and it comes through inherited through the Java lang. That's all you need to know for the Java exception. What is the main, if you look at this, all exception classes are subtypes of the Java lang. So just know that Java lang exception class. Just know this line. That is what is more important. The exception class is a subclass of the throwable class. Do you have to know about all this one? So just low, everything comes to the Java lang. And just if you are interested, you can look into this to understand a little bit more about it, or you can just have some idea. Errors are abnormal conditions that happens in case of severe failures. They are not handled by the Java programs. Errors are generated or indicates error generated by the runtime environment. So whenever you are running the programs, you saw that error. So there are two types of errors. And errors also, sometimes you see this, for example, like this one. I'll show you 1 second. If I miss the double quotation, right? This is an error too. But this is not a runtime exception. What is runtime error? Runtime error means whenever you run the program, you see an error. That is a runtime error. But if you see the error in the beginning itself, like, in this case, I didn't provide the, what do you call that, a bracket, right? So I saw an error. This is a compiling error. So what I mean, before compiling the code itself, now everybody should know what is a compiling and compiler, right? This we talked multiple times. Before even compiling, you have a syntax error. Like this is a syntax error. So this is a compiling time. This code will not even compile because there is an error in the code. This is a compiler error. But even after this, now I see no error in my code right now. If you look in the problem time, there is no error there also. Or these warnings are okay. Let's ignore the warning. But if you look at the errors, if I move this one, okay, if I remove this bracket and I save this, first thing you'll see an error here probably. See, there is error in the code. Errors mean this is a red flag, means red. Your code will not even compile. Now, if I add a bracket, this error will go away. If you look at this problem, but we have warning, that's okay. Now I can execute the program. Now that is a compile execution run or runtime error. So this error file not found is a runtime error. So if I run this one, let's look at this one. I run the program. I'm able to run this program. Earlier, I will not be even able to run the program because there's a compilation error. So this is the exception is thrown, right? This means this is a compilation type error. This is runtime error. So this is it. There are two kinds of errors in the Java. One is compilation, one is runtime. So let's not go too much into it because that will be it will start to get complex. Only thing I will try to explain is one is by throws exception, which we use in the example, right? Another one is catching exceptions. So let me use what is catching is. In order to a method catch is an exception using a combination of try and catch keyword or try and catch block, they call it. Okay, in general they call it. A try and catch block is placed around the code that might generate an exception. So what is they are saying is in this code, this may throw an exception. Let me use let me create another method. Okay, similar method where I'll not use this one. 1 second. Using try catch 1 second. Using try catch. Okay. So this one will use try catch. So if you see that there is an error or it is going to show an error. So if you see option here, when I mouse over it, there are two options. One is add throw declaration, another one is surround with try catch. So let's select the second one, error handling is try catch. So if you look here, what I have done is now this, what if the file not found error is supposed to populate, I handled it by saying that using by moving it inside the try catch block. What does try catch block does is try this code means whatever code you have within the try will execute, and whatever exception, if this is some exception around the file, right? So we know what exception we are expecting. This catch statement will catch that exception. And this e.print means this is a syntax. So remember this syntax, if you mouse over or try catch, and this will print the exception here. It will read the file not found exception and it will read the exception. Let me run this program now. 1 second, using try catch. Okay, let's run this. What happens? Now see, you saw that earlier a little bit different, but file not found exception. Again, you saw the same error with the try catch. So instead of writing throws exception, you can also use the try catch to catch the exception. So there are two ways of handling the exception. One is through the throws exception. Another one is through the 1 second, file not found. No, I don't want to use this exception demo. Okay, because I want to post this class in the 1 second. Okay. All right. So there are two ways to handle the exception. One is using the throws exception, using within the method on the top of method. After the method completion, method name and bracket close, you can use throws exception. So if I use this one, see, I can remove this one now. Earlier, if you remember that I had to use throws because whenever I use throws, I had to use the throws in main class also. But if I use try catch and I handle the try catch, because this means I already handle the exception within by using the try catch block, I don't have to provide the throws exception here in the main class. So there's two differences between the throws exception and try catch exception. So try catch exception, what would you do is you'll handle within the method itself, within this block itself. The exceptions are handled within this block itself. This is a try catch. And this is one advantage of using try catch, and people prefer to use try catch is just because the exception can be handled within the method or within the code. You don't have to go and handle it, because what happens if I use this exception, right, in this throws exception, here also I have to use throws exception. If this, or say example, I call a method, then every time I have to use throws exception. Instead of that, if I use try catch, I can handle within the code, that I don't have to use that throws exception everywhere. So this is one of the advantage of using the try catch instead of using throws exception. But people prefer both. So depending upon the company and prefer, some people try to handle the exception here. Some people wants to handle the exception in the using the try catch. So you could use both. It's the same. It's a little bit syntax different. It's the two ways of handling the error or exception handling in the Java. So this is the two things I wanted to discuss. So catching exceptions. A method catches an exception using a combination of try catch keyword. A try catch block is placed around the code that might generate an exception. We knew that this may generate exception. Then we added a code. Code with a try catch block is referred to as protected code, and the syntax for using try catch block looks the following. So just know this is a syntax. So this is a, if you want, let me post this also uh, in the class itself. If you want to read more about it, I'll post it here. Okay, the link you can read from here. Okay, if you want to read more about this try catch, you can see the link here within the class itself. Okay, I want to read more about the try catch. Oh, sorry, about the exception. Okay, so you can read from here. I have added as a part of comment. So you see, this is an example they are saying. So whichever they are, what they are saying is the code which prone to exception is placed in the try block. So whatever you see, whatever happens is the try block, you project all the code that you want to seems that may produce an exception. And when an exception occurs, that exception is handled by catch block associated with it. every try block should be immediately followed either by a catch block or finally block. So just remember try catch for now. Okay, you don't have to worry about finally sometime. So this is an example of try catch. So if this is a little bit more complex example, maybe it use a integer and how to use the array index, array out of bound index or something, So this what it is saying is yeah, so this is just array index out of bound, which we have seen before. If you remember this, we tried this and we got the exception when running the Java loops and stuff, right? Array out of bound or index out of bound. So you can look into this example, run, and get an example of how the exception works. Another thing is you can have multiple catch also. So what it is saying is, if you have this kind of exception, you can have multiple catch blocks. So this is usually some company, depending on the person choice, some will use one, some will use another, but you can have multiple catch also statement. Let me see here. I can was first thing what I will do is, since this is already used, I'll use exceptions. One second. Sometimes what happens is if you want to narrow it down to the exception. Okay. One second. What happened? Why did it not saying? What error it is saying? Oh, E1. One second. My bad. Huh? Why is not catch? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what I do. E1 dot. It should work. What is happening? Oh, okay. My bad. Then it is saying use the first this one. Okay. It is saying that I'm using the two level, which is higher level and lower level. So let me see. Yeah. Okay. So sometimes what happens is if I know this is file not found exception, then it will catch here. But sometimes it will say there could be another exceptions, right? Like arithmetic exceptions, some other exception, because sometimes the one exception may not be enough. So they want to know what are the exact exceptions. So what they will do is, because of doing the debugging the code, which is a different part of the coding, I don't even want to go there right now. And what happens if you want to, you can have a multiple catch block. So what it is saying is, you can, for the same error, you can make sure that if this error is not covered here, like say example here, I'm going to do is uh, int. Okay, no, I'm going to do is okay. Oh yeah, I can do int c equals to, okay. I'm going to make sure 1 1 divided by 0. Okay. See, first time I will do is, let me use this code then for file. It's not that I will have only file reading exception, right? What will happen is I can have multiple exceptions. One second, I'm going to create another class because this is another important aspect. So let me do one thing. Handling using multiple catch block. Okay. All right, let's do this one. Let me do one thing. I don't want to use this one. Let me use this one also. Remove this one also. No, I want to remove this. Just because I'll post this method in the this class in the today's lecture and model. So let me do this one. Okay. So here I have two. One is reading the file, which will throw an error. Oh no, I want this one. My bad. Yeah. But in this case, it could throw this file reading error, or it could throw this 1 divided by 0, which is a arithmetic exception, right? We saw that in the earlier example. Now, because file not found error, let me do one thing first. Let me do this one first. Okay. Let's remove this one. What will happen is, let's run this program first, and you'll see what is it, why we have to use sometimes multiple catch block. See, if you see this one, even though it says file not found, why it says file not found? Oh, it ran this program. My bad. Okay, I have to use multiple catch block. My bad. Okay, let's run this method. Let's run it. See, it. Why did it throw this one? File not found exception is there. Line 40. Usually you should not throw this one. I think it's the main exception. That's why it threw that error. Okay. Which line it says? Line 40. Oh. Okay. I think it is already internally built. That's why it says. Okay. 1 second. So what it did is some of the errors handling it could not be handled, or because it threw the error here itself internally, saying that now let's use the catch. Another catch. Okay. Exception E1 dot print stack trace. Okay. Let's see what it does. It says exception line in the practice tool. Let's see what does this one. Does this one? Usually, okay, because this is handle already here. It should show 47. Okay, this error is already handled. That's the reason it doesn't want to show it. Okay, so certain times what happens, okay, this is not a good example. It turns out that this is not a good example because this is internally, the division is internally handled. So let's see what other example can I use. A file not found. Because arithmetic exception, what happened is it never went into this exception. It directly through the exception here itself. That is the reason it didn't go over the exception, catch exception here. It went over here and directly through the exception. So let me see another example, what I can use. Let's see. Let me check what example it has used. Okay. Okay, yeah, I think it is this one. Not bad. I don't want to use this. This is a little complex for you guys, so I don't want to use this example. Is there any other? One second. Multiple try catch example. I don't. Let's see any simple example they have. No, my bad. No, I don't want to use this. I want a simple Java example. Yeah, this is what it should be. Yeah, this is one good example. Okay, let me use this one. Exception E, array out of bound. Yeah, you can use this one example. Let me use this one. This is simple because we already talked about this one before. So let me use this example. Have extra bracket. Uh-oh, what happened? Something wrong with my code right now. I don't know when it will break. Okay, looks good. I think I have extra bracket somewhere. Okay. So if you look at this example where I have try and catch. So what is it? This is integer and it is an integer array. So what is it? And another integer a5 or whatever number 5, it declare the value of a5 equals to 30 divided by 0. So what happens is first time it will look at arithmetic exception. So you can have multiple catch. So what is, if this is an arithmetic exception, throw me the arithmetic exception. So you can just print out also within the exception. You can either print the exception or you can have this statement within the exception also. Second one is array index out of bound exception, which is saying that system.out print array out of the bound. So another one is exception. If nothing occurs, it is a parent class of exception, right? It will just throw the randomly any exception. So let me run this program. It will give you the any exception. So arithmetic exception occurs, rest of the code. So what happens is it says that first thing, whatever a30 divided by 0 we gave, right? It caught the arithmetic exception. That's why you saw the arithmetic exception occurred. Now, second thing I will do is 1 second. Instead of this one, I'll use another code. Here, I will say SYSO printed line A6. Now you don't have A6, right? We have only an integer of size 5. Now I'm going to say print me the sixth array. Let's see what it does. It should show. Oh, it's launching. My system is acting slow right now, so give me another time. See, array index out of bound. You saw that first in the previously when you run this line of code, it shows you this error. But the another line of code where you said you want to get the sixth array, you got the another error. So how can it do it? You can handle the multiple errors within the code. Now you know that what is the exact region for the issue is array index out of bound. So this is another way of handling the multiple exception using the multiple try catch. So I don't want to go beyond this because this will get again complex more. It will start to get more complex. And I will end the try catch with this example. And you can look into this example and I will, because this is again, I mean, it is kind of like it has much more you can do or much more complex code. So 1 second, let me use. So please use this example, go over it, learn it, and run these different methods and see what you see. You know, copy this, run it, and see what it show. What did you get? What do you get? That way, you know. Let me close this one first now. Oh yeah, I have to use throws exceptions for that one. See the example, practice more, and then see if you have any questions. We can discuss later. Okay. So if I go a little bit more than this, it will get more and more complex, and I don't want you to get confused. Only thing I want to know is you should know how to handle the exception. Exception handling has two ways. One is using throws keyword, another one is using try catch. So remember this too, and how it is done. Just remember that one. So this is an example of try catch. This is a simple example of how to use using the throws exception and what you need to do for throws exception. For any method that calls, we have to throw exception here also. If you use try catch, you don't have to use the throw because the error is handling within the method itself. You don't have to use throws exception in the if you use within the try catch. And this is the example of using the multiple try catch. And you saw a couple of examples. One is arithmetic exception, another one is the array index out of bounds. You saw two different kinds of exceptions here. So this is a sample. So let me end the class today with this one. Let me get this lecture. One second, Control C and post it today. Any questions for exception? So other than if you have any questions, please let me know. I know it is kind of like little, it's not, I would not say even that complex, but it is a little bit of different concept than what we have taught because now because some of the items in the course, right, it goes a little bit what do you call that? Some of the stuff start to get a little bit more not complex. It will start to get into different aspects because this you'll see that if you have work in a project, this is most common because people have to use exceptions and all the handling because they have to because there is there'll always be something. So they will always see that something will populate all the time. So that's why people have to handle the exception. This is one of the important aspects of exception. I mean, the Java code is handling the exceptions. So please go over this. I've added the code within the Java exception day 2, and read about the GitHub next time. Whenever we have project, read about the GitHub and how to set up GitHub and stuff. Start to read about it, and ask me any question if you have on that. And also on top of that, final project exam, that is, please continue on this. The due date would be the end of the 16th week or maybe beginning of the 16th week. So we only have next week. You have, because I posted it last week, right? No, last week. Yes, I did it last week. So week 14 and week 15. Week 16, beginning of the class, everyone will demo their project. So you have to demo your project running example. So that in the class. So I'll pull the random person name and you'll demo your code. Okay. So that's all I had for today. Anyone have anything and want to add?